Alright. Hey guys, how's everything going? It's been some time since I last saw you, let alone done any painting. Like, good God. I've been things have been crazy. I was kind of talking about it the last time when I was playing Bird Gut. Work has been kind of crazy. It's been exhausting me. I work in a facility where I have to like look after older people and I cook for them and things have been kind of nuts, but here I am. I'm going to try to actually get more than one stream in this week. Hey, looks like we've got Wrath of Wood in the house. Give me just a second. I just kind of. Oh, and T Love T as well, and Pink Peacock. Well, I'm glad to have you guys all in here. This is awesome. Let me just make it so that I can see all your beautiful faces right in front of me. Yeah, so I just really wanted to do some painting. I've also been kind of having some problems with some of my capture software. There's some games that I want to try playing, but they don't play nice with Streamlabs. So that's something I'm also trying to figure out as well. But I do plan on doing a couple other gaming streams, but I thought it would be really fun to kind of bring it all back to painting today, because that's what I don't know, I was just in the mood, I just really wanted to kind of sit back and do some painting, and it's just kind of relaxing, and I thought that would be a lot of fun. And I also know that usually when I do these painting streams, I can, kind of relax and just chat with you guys a little bit more. Wrath of Wood asks, where did you get a haircut during the apocalypse? Actually, my hair is the same as it was since the apocalypse has started. I've talked about it a couple times in like my catcher streams and stuff like that. I don't exactly 100% know how it happened, but I got really lucky right before the kimono hit. Basically, about a week and a half before everything went down on lockdown and all the madness started going crazy, a couple things happened. First of all, I managed to get a gigantic pack, like a 12 pack, of toilet paper on sale. And that was before everybody was freaking out about getting their hands on toilet paper. So I actually still have quite a few rolls in the back, and I got them on sale, which was super duper nice. And then on top of that, I also got my haircut done, like I said, around the same time that I bought my toilet paper. So I got a haircut, and I bought a ton of toilet paper, and that was all before everybody started freaking out about the whole kimono madness. So this is actually still the same haircut. It's just not growing in super quick. I think I might look like I got a haircut because I don't have the beard. I shaved yesterday because my beard was growing really long, and I was kind of growing out my beard for a little bit because people think I look really good with a beard. I don't really like having a beard for too long. It drives me crazy, and I grow really thick hair on my face, as well as just my hair in general is really thick and curly, and it drives me crazy. So I was like, I'm just gonna shave it all off, and so here I am with a bald face. And so it probably makes my hair look shorter than it actually is. But yeah, other than that, the hair's been the same. Um, let's see. Pink Peacock says, "Why don't you get a El Gato?" I don't El Gato. I feel like is that it, does that mean cat? Does that mean cat? Is that what that means? I'm not sure, but if you're talking about a cat, then I'm not gonna get a cat. I already have a puppy, so that's good enough for me. So I wanted to kind of paint the Mahamoti Djinn. I've always, like, not always, but I have wanted to paint this guy for quite some time. Um, a Capture HD 60. Um, is that like a camera? I was thinking about updating my cameras pretty soon, but I also want to get a. Oh, you probably mean the capture software. That might be something to look into. I've just been kind of using free software. I have OBS Studio, and I also have Streamlabs OBS. And I've been told, like, I had a talk with my catcher not too long ago, and he says a lot of the stuff that Streamlabs can't handle, the OBS Studio can handle. It just requires some tinkering. So that's kind of something I'll probably have to, mess around with. Um, oh my god, that video heading picture, Habanero. You like the thumbnail, Helex? Good to see you, man. Yeah, I've been kind of trying to be a little more creative with my thumbnails lately, so it's a lot of fun to making the thumbnails. I was actually struggling with it a little bit because I kind of built it like an hour before I started the stream, and my image editing software was giving me a smidge bit of a bad time, but it was just because I was putting the files in the wrong folders and it was driving me crazy. So, but I managed to get it all figured out. Let's see. Elgato Game Capture HD60. It captures game footage. Well, I might look into it. I've just been using free stuff, and OBS has been pretty reliable. OBS and Streamlabs have been pretty reliable for me, so that's what I've been staying focused with. And the thing is that also Streamlabs is really, really simple. And I don't know if you guys can tell by now, but I'm not a very tech-savvy guy. I'm not very good with computers or programming or anything like that, which is really funny because my dad is basically a computer genius. So it's kind of weird, being a person who knows little to nothing about computers whatsoever, and I'm the son of basically a computer genius, so whatever. Helex says HD60S is much better. It just replaced the HD60 end of last year. Well, I will take a look at it. I'll look into it. I don't know if it costs anything, but I am kind of being a little bit better about being willing to spend money on my on all the YouTube stuff. Like I said, I'm kind of looking into buying a new microphone pretty soon because this guy right here in front of me, he's just not going to cut it anymore. It's driving me crazy. Like my gaming headset has a better microphone on it than this microphone I'm using right here. So I need to do that. I need HDMI because I want to stream Wii, Switch, and PS3. Okay. It's all good. It was actually funny because I was looking into... I was wondering if maybe I wanted to, do console streaming. But, I'm not interested simply because my computer does everything, So, okay, so I was talking about this Djinn, and the first time I ever saw Mahamoti Djinn was way back, I've owned an older Mahamoti Djinn. So, I've actually owned one for a pretty long time, but the first time that I thought Mahamoti Djinn was really cool was when, I think it was, I got my hands on a 9th edition copy of Mahamoti Djinn, and I thought the artwork, which is this artwork right here, was so cool. And I loved it so much that I wanted to use the Mahamoti Djinn in I had an old white bordered 9th edition version, and I tried putting it in almost every blue deck when I was a kid, just because I thought it looked cool. So it wasn't great because by the time I got into 9th edition, it's Mahamoti Djinn. It was printed as a rare, but it was still not quite as good. So I never really utilized it that much. I just kind of kept it because I thought it looked really cool. And, but it was the only copy I had of I had 2 copies, but the other one I had was the really old artwork. Where it shows the guy, the Djinn coming out of the lamp with the guy holding the lamp and all that. But I always thought this was the coolest, and I definitely wanted to, I thought it looked so cool, and I wanted to keep it as an art piece. But I just never really used it very much because it wasn't quite all that up to snuff. And, but now here I am, and I'm wanting to actually paint it, and I thought this would be really cool. I'm going to probably start with some yellow and red for some orange. And let me zoom you guys out here. And camera's in my face! Let me get it out of my face. But, yeah, I don't know. I always like the Mahamoti Djinn, even though it's, really underpowered nowadays. Which is really funny, because there was a long period of time where Mahamoti Djinn was, the ultimate blue finisher, It was, you tried to get it out as fast as possible. I guess the other one was, what is that other crazy blue genie called? I can't remember. The one that's, it's a 3 mana, is it 3 mana flying 3/4 or something like that? And it says you take a damage every turn. I can't remember what it's called. But I always thought that guy was super cool as well. But I remember like being younger and like thinking it was not a very good card because it used to hurt you every turn. And that was during a time where I just didn't understand the concept of like victory at any cost, even if it's like a small amount of damage every single turn. But that was something that I eventually learned as I got older. I mean, because here I am, and I play that way all the time, where it's like you got to be the best. Sometimes you got to make sacrifices if you want to be the best. Is there any yellow in here? I might have to open up my new yellow. Blue Yeti microphone is the current standard in quality microphones, and you can get them on sale often and even clearance for cheaper. I got my Yeti in a combination pack with Assassin's Creed game. Yeah, I mean, I know that, there are Yetis and stuff like that. I was actually looking at, like, a different brand of microphone a while ago. I don't know, we'll see. Every time I look at Yeti microphones, they're just way too damn expensive, and that really bugs me. And, like, one of the problems I have with Yetis, like Blue Yetis, is I feel like a lot of their expensiveness comes from the fact that they're a name brand, Because, like, I feel like that there are probably, like, other microphones that are also really good, but they're less expensive because they're not this, like, super popular brand name, So I just keep, like, looking around for different kinds of microphones, and I'm thinking I might actually, I don't know, I'll probably try to get, like, a decent microphone pretty soon. Just because, like, I've actually been making a lot more money lately because of, like, how my job has been demanding of me lately more stuff, and been getting more hours and things like that. And so I've been making more money, and also, like, I don't know, it's like, I feel like during all this crisis and stuff, like, things have been pretty good to me. Making a lot more money, having a lot of work hours. I'm also spending less money, too, because of everything that's going on, and I think that's probably pretty helpful as well. I haven't really been buying Magic cards, obviously, and I mean, I'm definitely a person who talks frequently about how I'm not really interested in buying Magic cards anymore. Recently I feel like I own, like, most of the Magic cards I want. I'm not really interested in trying to buy new cards. And I mean, I definitely have people who want to send me cards, which is really cool. But that even encourages me further to just not really be wanting to, like, spend money on cards, because it just feels like it's a waste at this point. And I mean, obviously with everything that's going on, it's like, Wizards is, being... Yeah, Serendib Afreet, Wrath of Wood says, yeah, that's the other really good genie that I always thought was real... Well, I mean, when I was younger, I thought it was terrible, but, when I actually understood why that card is good, I was like, oh, this card is really good. But anyways, yeah, I just, I'm, very much not wanting to support Wizards, combined with the fact that I'm trying to also save money and things like that. So I've just been not buying Magic cards. However, I will say this, that there's a possibility that I might be spending some money on some singles soon. Simply because I still have been watching the market for singles and things like that I want to get my hands on. And I don't know if you guys have been, like, watching card prices for, like, older singles and stuff like that. Dude, prices are dropping. Like, crazy. Crazy stuff. I've seen some pretty awesome price tags on some cards that I've been watching for quite some time. And, like, all prices are being hit. Like, even, like really, really old, like, antique Magic cards are even going down in price, which is super cool. Might pick up a few, like, simply because there are some, like, really old cards that I've always wanted to own just to have in my collection. But we'll see, because, like I said, I'm also trying to not spend tons and tons of money on Magic cards anymore. Hey, it looks like we've got Stay and Play. Good to see you, girl. Glad to have you in here. Yeah, I'm just, I wanted to get some painting in today. It just felt like what I wanted to do. And I mean, I wasn't in the mood to play a game right now. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm probably gonna play some more games soon. But that's just not how I was feeling today, so I'm just like, okay, well, I'm gonna do this instead. I'm just mixing up kind of like a reddish orange. I'm purposely making it a darker color. I don't know if you guys can see it. Here, let me show you. This is the, let me get it on camera. Okay, there it is. See that? That's the orange I'm kind of making right now. So I'm going to kind of lay it down. We're going to see how it looks on this card. I've already got the primer down and everything. I actually remembered to do the primer today. Let's see. Wrath of Wood mentions that there's a misprint Djinn. It's pretty good. Oh, is that like the green one that's actually blue or something like that? I think I've seen that one. Hey, that orange looks pretty good. So for this orange, I'm going to just kind of lay down a base layer of this orange all over the place, and then I'm probably going to shade it with black to make it match better. So I'm purposely kind of getting lighter with the orange as I get lower because it kind of lightens up into a yellowish color. I also had some cool ideas for kind of like wrapping up the lower text box a little bit. I didn't, hit it with a primer to actually do that right away, but it's something that I'm keeping in the back of my mind in case I choose to go that direction. But for right now, I just want to hit it with the basic orange, and I'm just kind of like spreading it out everywhere, getting it all nice and set up here. Love Mahamoti. That's cool, Stay and Play. I'm glad you like it. Just noticed the notification. Yeah, sometimes the notifications are a little slow, but it's all good. Any weird singles you've been wanting but can't find or buy? Let's see. There's, I was wanting to get my hands on a couple of copies of Nova Pentacle, which is like a really obscure Legends card that nobody really wants. And it's about like around $20 right now, but it's lowered like since the last time I saw it. I think it was more expensive than $20 the last time I looked at it. And I wanted to get it like I wanted to get 3 copies of that card, Nova Pentacle. And most of one is for because I want to collect one. One is for another purpose that I have later for a secret purpose. And the third one is for painting. I want to paint the third one. Which is kind of a hefty thing, like you buy a card for $20 only to, paint it, and that's kind of a big deal. But that's kind of why, that's one of the cards that I've been watching heavily. I've also been, what else have I been watching? I've been watching Phyrexian Obliterator, which actually tanked within the last, month or so, which is super cool because I might actually try and pick up a copy pretty soon. It tanked. It went from $20 to 13 or 14 bucks, which is that's tanking. That's tanking. Normally if I say, oh, it lowered, it's going down, that means oh, it went down $1 or $2. But when I say it tanks, I mean it went from 20 to 14 bucks, and I'm that's a big, that's $7, and that's a major deal. I've been wanting to get my hands on a couple of copies of Phyrexian Obliterator. Mostly, you guys know I'm a Phyrexian fanboy. That's why I want the Phyrexian Obliterator mostly to collect. I do have a black deck that I thought would be really cool to have a couple copies of the Obliterator in, but it's mostly because I want to collect it. I like collecting really ridiculous Phyrexian stuff. A card that I've been watching crazy, but no matter even during everything that's happening right now, it still has not tanked in price, which makes me sad. Is I'm also trying to get my hands on a copy of Yawgmoth's Will, and that has stayed stable at $70 for I don't even know how long. I've had that card on my buy list for years now, and it's never gotten lower than $70. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to pay $70 for a single piece of card. I know that there are people out there who will. That people ain't me. That's not me. I don't do that. I don't spend $70 on a single card. I just remembered another card that I've been watching like crazy. that I was really, actually legitimately surprised to see it go down. Because I thought it was like on par with Yawgmoth's Will in the sense of like it would never go down. Is Tolarian Academy, like the old school Urza's Tolarian Academy, also tanked in price. The last time I saw it, it was between 30 and $40, and now it's in the higher 20, lower 30s. And I thought that was super cool because that's a card I also want to collect. Um, Still too pricey for me. And I mean that's like that's the thing is I have a rule. I follow what I call the rule of Richard Garfield, which is I don't buy cards that are $20 or more. I buy cards that are under $20. Because, like Richard Garfield says, a card should not be worth more than $20. So if it's more than $20, if it's $20 or more, it's too expensive for me. But considering that I've seen the Tolarian Academy go from like $40 to like low 30s, high 20s, like that says to me that I think it'll go down more. Which means who knows? I might be able like if I'll be honest, if I see a Tolarian Academy hit about I don't know, between 16 and $18, maybe I'll shell out for it. I might shell out for it. But I mean, I think that's going to take some more time. Um, but like I said, I was surprised to see it in the price range that it's at right now. So that gives me hope that it'll go down further. Um, Another one is like, but I'm not super worried about getting my hands on this one because my good friend Lettuce already said that he's sending one to me. So I'm not super worried about buying it, but it's still interesting to keep track of the price. Um, Yawgmoth, the Thran Physician, has been going down steadily in price, and which I expected. I actually expected that. There was a period of time where it was already kind of a low-priced card, and then it skyrocketed for a short amount of time because of some combo or something that people thought was going to be like crazy good. And then, lo and behold, big surprise that combo was all hype and not really that great. So it's been steadily going down in price again, which is kind of cool. But I'm not too concerned about buying it because, like I said, my good friend Lettuce, which I'm very grateful, has told me that he's sending me a copy of Yawgmoth the Thran Physician. So I'm really not looking into trying to buy a copy of it. But it's still cool to know that if I, for some reason, wanted to get another copy of it, it's good to know that it is going down in price again as well. Um, those are most of the cards, I think. Like, there's a few other cards that I'm looking into simply because, but they don't really matter because they're like less than $1. I do like buying cards that are like less than $1 here and there. Sometimes it's for my collection, sometimes it's for the cube, and like a lot of the time, just because it's like $1 or less, like doesn't mean it's like not very powerful. You know what I mean? To give a reference point, there was a card that I'm thinking about buying a single copy of that's literally less than $1. It's I think it's called like Dragon Speaker Outcast or something like that, and it's from like the old Zendikar set. And I personally think it's really good, but it's less than $1. It's like a less than $1 mythic rare. But I want it due to it would fit really well into the cube. The main thing, like what makes it super attractive to me in particular, is it's a it's a removal magnet. It's a removal magnet, and that's a big deal. That's why I want it for the cube, is because the cube needs more removal magnets. It's one of those cards where it's a single mana, it's one red mana, and it says if you control 5 or more lands during your upkeep, you may create a 5/5 red flying dragon token. So the thing is that if I get my hands on a copy of it, which is something that I do want, uh, if I do get my hands on a copy of it, because it is something I do want, and I put it into the cube, I don't expect it to ever survive. but that's on purpose. I actually want it. Dragon Master Outcast combos with lands. Yeah, that's the thing, Wrath of Wood, is like, it's so good that it has to die. So, like, but that's the point, is because it feels amazing when you can pay a 1 red mana for something that somebody needs to kill, and they have to spend 2 or 3 mana to get rid of it. So in the end, you come out on top because you drew out a removal spell for 1 mana, and that allows whatever spell you actually want to cast to survive, or more likely to survive. And that's why I want it for the cube, is because I want it to be a removal magnet, because there are quite a few removal magnets in the cube, but that's one that I really want specifically because it's red, and red doesn't have enough of that kind of stuff. Red is actually, it sucks that it is this way, but this is in fact how it is. Red is the weakest color in my cube, and I'm trying to change that. And I think having something like a Dragon Master Outcast would be really good for red. I think that would give it a step up. And like I said, I don't expect it to ever actually, I don't expect it to survive, but even just having that 1 mana removal magnet is a big deal for red. It really needs stuff like that. So that's why I want to get my hands on that copy. But if you guys are curious, it's less than $1. It costs nothing. It's people don't want it, which blows my mind because it is actually very strong. And I think it's a lot of it is you know how people always say oh, it's not good because it dies to removal. Oh, who cares? It dies to removal. Oh, who cares? It dies to removal. And it's in my brain, that's the point. That's what makes it so good, is yes, it dies to removal. But how much is the person spending on that removal to get rid of a 1 mana card? You know what I mean? That's literally what makes the Dragon Master Outcast so good. If you are using the Dragon Master Outcast to win you the game, you're going to be disappointed every time. The point is to have a card that will force your opponent, because that's the thing, is that if it doesn't die to removal, it will win you the game. It will. It's straight up, it will win you the game if they don't remove it. But that's what makes it so good, is because it dies to removal, that's literally what makes that card so good. Another one is Scoot Mob, too. Scoot Mob is one that I was looking at as well. But I'm not making it and it's also less than $1. But I'm not making it a huge priority because I recently made green really, really powerful in my cube. So green doesn't need as much help as red does, but red really needs the assist. Let's see. Evil purposes. Yeah, I want to do some interesting things with. I assume you're talking about the Nova Pentacle, because I said I wanted to get my hands on 3 copies of it. I do have some interesting stuff I want to do with that card, but the thing is that it's an old card. It's only about $20. It's only $20. But I think it might go down further because it's an old vintage card. And it's a rare, by the way, too. So, those are really hard to come by. But the thing is that people don't really like it. It has very little purpose in Magic anymore. It's a very underpowered card. So, like I said, I want 3 copies of it. 1 for collector's purposes, just to have in my collection because I think it's cool. Also, it's really interesting what the Nova Pentacle serves as in the lore of Legends. It's a really interesting item. So I want to collect one, I want one for a secret purpose, and I want another one to paint. So, that's kind of what I want to do. But I think it'll go down further in price, and like I said, once it gets into the threshold of being lower than $20, I'll probably dish out for it. Because it's cool. It's a cool card. I would never play it. I mean, you know what I mean? It's not something I'm interested in playing with. Because, I mean, as much as I am a Magic card player, I'm a collector too. The only thing I'm not in Magic is an investor. I'm not a Magic investor. I don't sell cards to people. It's not my jam. I like playing with my cards, And I like collecting cards because I want to collect them. You know what I mean? Wrath of Wood says, Yogg's Will is so good. I picked that up when I started playing. I was lucky. Yeah, yeah. I never picked up a Yawgmoth's Will, and I did have a chance at a very young age, like when I was in my beginner years of Magic playing. I remember seeing a Yawgmoth's Will behind a glass case for like $10. And I have a distinct memory of being in a card shop, seeing a Yawgmoth's Will behind the glass case for like $10, and thinking to myself, that card sucks. Like, I thought it sucked when I was a kid. I was like, I don't understand. Like, and I remember because at that time, because it was back in the late '90s, early 2000s, and I remember seeing that and thinking to myself, like, why is this selling for $10? Like, this card sucks. Like, you know what I mean? I didn't understand it as a kid, so I never picked one up. Um, but I kind of regret that now. I mean, as much as a person who wants to go back in time and collect Magic cards could regret, because I really want one now. I mean, I even painted a fake Yawgmoth's Will myself, because I think it's such a cool card. And a part of it too is like, I mean, I could probably put it in my cube and make it play worthy, especially considering that I have stuff like Dark Writ. I have like Black Lotus. I have like all sorts of quick mana grabbing spells, like I even have like a Lotus Bloom and things like that. But it's not worth it to me to spend like $70 on it. One thing I was looking at is that there are the old gold bordered collector's cards of Yawgmoth's Will, and those are a bit cheaper. So I have thought about trying to get my hands on that, but I think I recall that even the gold border ones are like within like the high 20s or something like that, which is ridiculous. Um, Helix says, FYI, Habanero, don't buy anything streaming related during COVID-19. I should probably say kimono so I don't get in trouble. Uh, Prices are stupid because of everyone at home. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. I mean, I'll take a look at prices and see what I get because, I mean, like, I think that Amazon's been relatively reasonable with stuff like that. So I'm not really totally sure yet, but I'll take a look. Um, like I said, I've just been like watching like card prices tank, which was a lot of fun. But haven't been particularly interested in buying anything. Even like the cards that I mentioned that were like less than $1. I haven't been super interested in trying to get my hands on right away. Um, I mean, I could easily just pick some copies up and that would be that. But that's just not what I've been wanting to do because, I don't know, I just don't care enough yet right now, It's... Magic has been in the very back of my mind, Like, I've been ranting and raving a lot about stuff going on with Magic, but I don't spend money on it, I haven't been wanting to buy anything, so I guess, there's probably not much of a reason for me to be talking so much about Magic since I'm not necessarily much of a buyer for it anymore. Um, I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever get back into mainstream Magic again. I'm so, I don't know, I'm so disillusioned by it, and it's like, I have so many cards. I already have so many cards, guys, I really do. There's like not really much of a reason for me to buy cards anymore, and the only time I have been buying cards is just little singles for my cube, so... and a lot of the singles I've been buying have been really cheap, It's really just... not this major priority for me lately. I mean, honestly, with everything going on right now, it shouldn't be a priority with anybody, really. But I definitely, like I said, because I've been trying to be a little bit more smart about my money, I've definitely had a lot more money at my access, which is great. For example, this last month has been wonderful to me. I actually have a lot of money saved up in the bank right now, which is awesome. And like, I don't have very much purpose. I've been planning to basically put a whole bunch of money into my savings this coming month, simply because I have the luxury to get away with that, and I don't necessarily need like a ton of survival supplies because I still have my job. So Not too worried about that. Ratherwood says, I started with a Rakdos deck. I liked black for graveyard recursion and red for burn spells, so Will has a natural include. That makes sense. I can easily see that. The first Magic deck I ever had, like the guy who taught me Magic helped me build it, and he gave me all the cards to build it because I didn't, have any Magic cards of my own, and he just let me have them. Was I built like a white deck, like an old white deck that was full of like weenies and like life gain. It was like clerics. It had like cleric tribalism and it had like angels and stuff like that. And it was terrible. Don't get me wrong. It was a terrible deck. It was so bad. But it had some cool stuff. I remember I still have the Achroma Angel of Wrath that I had in that deck. It was very cool. Still own it. I actually own like three Achroma Angels of Wrath, I think. One of them is like time shifted. One of them is the OG. I think two of them are the OG ones, and then one of them is a time shifted one. And ooh, that's a little too bright. Let's see if I can kind of tone that down just a little bit. There we go. I remember I thought Achroma was so cool, and she is really cool. She is actually a really powerful, badass angel. I mean, I don't think I would ever play with her anymore, but like for example, like she would never be able to make it into my cube ever. And it's funny because when I first built my cube, she actually was in the cube, but she's very, very not friendly with anything in the cube whatsoever. Like, she's just not good to have in the cube. She's too strict. Like, I don't do triple white costs or anything like that in my cube. Like, any cost that requires a, like, basically, like, anything more than two colored mana like two singular colored mana symbols is too much. Like, you can't, like, not in my cube, it doesn't work. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if other people who play Cube also would find themselves very hard-pressed to even fit in, like, triple color costs. It's really hard. It's super hard to play a Cube with triple color costs. It's, like, the worst. But I do remember having her in the Cube originally, alongside of, like, a whole bunch of other, like, ridiculous triple colored cards. And funny thing that would happen is in the very early stages of building my cube, when me and my friends would play, nobody would play any of, like, people would put the triple colored cards into their deck and nobody would be able to cast them. Nobody could cast them. It was just too damn rough. Like, it's too tough for people to do that stuff. So I ended up, like, just completely removing all the triple colored cards. Well, I mean, the triple color requirement cards. And, yeah, it was just really funny at that time because I tried so hard to make it work, and it just never did. So I ended up removing Achroma, and I even had stuff like, I think it was called, like Elder Scale Worm, which is, like, this, like, triple green worm that makes you permanently at 7, and you can, like, not gain life past 7, but you also can't lose life past 7. It was really crazy. And I really wish that I could make that kind of stuff work, but it just doesn't. It's not fun. And that's the thing, too, is, like, the cube that I have is built on, like, maximum fun capabilities. So it's like, if something just is not fun, it gets removed. And what's really fun, though, about that is that, like, you'd be like, oh, well, if something's not fun, then you're going to, like, be getting rid of, like, tons of powerful cards. But the thing is that I've found that I can have just, like, really broken cards, like, cards that are just crazy, stupid strong that would, like, completely tilt the game by playing them. But the thing is that the amount of balance in every color alongside of the amount of removal, the amount of prevention, it all works out so that you can play with, like, really broken bullshit without feeling like the game is constantly one-sided. Um, but the thing is that ignoring that, like, unfun cards are things that, like, cards that would never get played, cards that, stay in your hand forever, cards that are too strict on the rules, cards that require you to remember things constantly. Like, I had a bunch of cards that I had to remove because they would be like, at the beginning of, like, your upkeep, you need to remember to do this, and if you don't, you get in trouble for it, and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that stuff's not fun. Like, anything that requires you to, like, constantly, like, remember something, because, like, me and my friends, like, here's the thing. When me and my friends play Magic, we're enjoying herb. We're drinking. We're getting drunk, and we're having a good time, and we're being silly. And the thing is that when you are being silly and having fun and drinking and things like that, it's really hard to remember like constant, triggers and things like that like you're required to remember. So it ended up just being not fun. So we just had to like kind of remove that stuff in order to make the game more fun. And the cube as it is now is tons and tons of fun. I actually really think that it came out amazing. And I've actually had lots of people like I managed to play cube with like my best friend's brother, and he had never gotten the chance to like experience a cube, but he wanted to because he wanted to build his own cube. And he played our cube, and we just had like a great time. Like, we were just having so much fun, being silly, doing whatever. And he was like, he even told me, he was like, hey, like, I wanted to let you know, your cube is really cool. It was a lot of fun. And like, you guys also played it to be really fun, which allowed me to have a lot of fun as well. And that encourages me to actually go home and start building my own cube. And I was like, dude, that's cool. So, I just think that that's what Magic in general needs, Magic, like, I feel like that Magic needs to be more fun, because a lot of people, like, are so caught up in, like, a lot of different things. People are so caught up in winning. People are so caught up in the greed, like, and people are so caught up in the wallet fatigue that it's like people are forgetting that it's like, this is meant to be, like, fun, And so, like, I kind of try to make my cube as fun as possible so that people can kind of have that relaxing experience and remember, like, it's just a game, It's just a game, and we just all want to have a good time and hang out. Like, it's not about winning. Like, my favorite cube games, like the cube games that I've played that I remember the best, most of them are games that I lost. Like, but the thing is that the loss that I had was so outrageous and fantastic and filled with fun that I don't care that I lost. Like, it was so fun. Like, who cares, And that's, like, what I really love about, like, playing Cube and stuff like that. It's just, it's much easier to just have a good time, And I think that is something that needs to come back to Magic more, is people need to remember how to have fun in Magic, as weird as that may sound. Because, I mean, I'm just, I don't like a lot of the stuff that I'm seeing happen to the game lately. It's not, it's really disheartening, But I still think that there's potential for, things to change. And I think, though, that it has to come from the player base, because it's not going to come from Wizards. It's just people just have to make the game fun for themselves in their own special way. And, which I know that people can do. Like, it's just... But they also have to be comfortable with the idea that, they're going to have to give up on the greed, and they're going to have to give up on the obsession of winning and things like that in order to promote the idea that, fun comes first. And I do believe that it can happen. It's just going to take some time for people to accommodate that. You know what I mean? They have to, like, be okay with the idea that, fun can be something that doesn't require winning, and it doesn't require spending money, and it doesn't require, buying a ton of cards that you don't need for the purpose of reselling them just to make more money. It's very I think it can happen. It really can. Hey, Bo Falcon, how's it going, man? I'm painting a Mahamoti Djinn. What do you think so far? Good to see you, dude. Are you giving me that sick face because you're sick? Because I hope you're not sick. Don't be sick, brother. That's not good. Don't you die. I'll be upset. I'll be upset if I wake up one day and I find out you're dead. Oh, don't infect me with that. Okay, I get you, Bo Falcon. I see what you're doing. It's like you merely say the words infection, or like it's kind of like the other day. Like I was walking around near a bunch of people, and like just outside, right outside my apartment, and I had like a dry cough from like I like inhaled some of my own saliva, and I had a dry cough, and I couldn't help but like just kind of cough a little bit, and I just got the worst looks, like just the worst looks. And I mean, I was still polite and coughed into my sleeve, but even so, it's like coughing scares people right now, dude. Like, people do not like to hear the sound of a cough coming from anywhere. It scares the hell out of them. So I've been trying to, like, be, like, really careful. I try to, like, make it so that I don't cough when I feel, like, the urge to have a dry cough or something like that. Wow, this looks super cool. I'm, like, not even talking about all the painting techniques I'm doing. I'm just kind of doing them. I hope you guys don't mind. I'm just kind of, like, going at it and, like, talking and not even concentrating on what I'm properly doing here. If you guys are curious, what I'm doing is really simple stuff. It's not, like, I'm just basically, like, I laid down my orange as my base color. I went over it with some yellow in the bottom areas here so that it kind of blends in better with the rest of the yellow down here. Made sure that the orange was darker up at the top, and then I kind of started using black. I made sure to use a darker black in the top corners here to match up these clouds, and then get lighter as it goes across to the top. And then over here on the sides, I kind of like went really light with the strokes to kind of have it be like puffy clouds and things like that. So if you guys are curious about what I'm trying to do, I know I'm not talking about specifically what I'm doing, but that's what it is. Bo Falcon says, no, I'm all good. How are you doing? I'm doing great, Mr. Bo Falcon. I'm doing very good. It was really funny, because I'm actually really glad that you're here, Bo Falcon. When I picked this Mahamoti Djinn to paint, I actually told myself, I was like, oh man, Bo Falcon is probably going to love this, because I know that you in particular are a big fan of Mahamoti Djinns. Because I remember that one time you and me were having a deep conversation about Mahamoti Djinn and the various different editions and versions of it, and you have a good eye for cards, my friend. You really do, and I like talking to you about them, so I thought that, you'd be really into this one particular card. Hey, Cinder Shadow's here. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. Cinder Shadow says, I am here lurking and learning at the same time, and I'm cooking supper. That sounds really fun, dude. Glad you're having some fun little art lessons while also cooking. That actually sounds really fun. At work this week, I really upped my cooking game. I've been changing a lot of ways that I cook things. I've been actually doing a lot more at my work. I've been doing a lot more things from scratch. Most of it was because I've had to, but I basically decided, like, this last week when I was doing some various different cooking that I had to do, I made pretty much all the sauces I had to make for all the meals I made from scratch. And normally I don't do that, because what happens is a lot of the sauces and gravies that we have, or that we make, come from pre-made packages. So, like, we have, like, these big industrial packages of, like, gravies and sauces and things like that we kind of, like, make from the package. Usually what I do is I will make a gravy or a sauce from a package, and then I'll spice it up with different flavors to make it taste better. But we had a situation where we didn't get all of the supplies we needed, specifically with, like, sauces and gravies and things like that. So I actually had to make almost all the sauces and gravies from scratch. So, like, I had to make a, what was it? The words are not coming to me. It's, oh, geez, Louise. I had to make a chicken marsala, which was, which is basically like a wine, like a wine gravy, like a wine sauce. It's really good. And I had to make that from scratch. I had to make the one word that I'm trying to remember is not coming to me. I had to make basically a beef dish, and I can't remember the specific name of the beef dish right now, but it requires a special kind of sauce that's basically a a beef and milk gravy, which sounds really weird, but it's very, very good. I just can't think of the name of it right now. And I had to make that from scratch. What else? I had to make a few. Basically every sauce, like almost all the meals I had to make required a sauce, and almost all of them I had to make from scratch. All of them I had to make from scratch, not almost all of them. I'm sure the name of it will come to me eventually. Cube is fun. You should try it, Bo. That's a good question. I don't know if Bo plays Cube. I love Cube. It's like the only way I can play Magic anymore because it's the only thing that's when it comes to Magic. I don't like the reason why is because like as much as I love Magic, I don't really trust people, when it comes to Magic at all. And that's what makes me love Cube so much is because like I don't have to like, I mean, for example, like my best friend, I would totally trust him with whatever he's playing because he's my best friend and I know him really well. So I would never, if he wanted to come over and he was like, hey, dude, like, I built this brand new deck and I really want to try it out. Would you like to fight me with it? And I'd be like, sure, because he's my best friend. And I know that my best friend, who I play Cube with constantly, he doesn't play degenerate bullshit. So, like, if he came to me and wanted to, like, try out a new deck that he's, like, playing with for whatever reason, I would be totally okay with it. But in general, when it comes to Magic, I don't trust people. I just assume that every person that I don't know well is going to play some degenerate bullshit that I don't want to play against at all. But with Cube, I can play anybody with Cube, and I'm totally okay with them. Because any kind of degeneracy that they might try to pull is natural to the Cube, and I know that I can just be as equally bullshit worthy as they are in Cube, because any problem that they may provide, I will have an answer to, because that's how the Cube is built. So it's like, that's why I like Cube so much, is because nobody can actually truly be degenerate in Cube. Unless you purposely build your Cube to be degenerate, then that's your own problem, But I build it to be maximum fun. So it's like there is like really powerful BS in the Cube, but every single bullshit card in the Cube has an equal answer to it. Like there's a lot of answers to everything. Like, who was I talking to today in Perp's stream about building Cube? I was talking to somebody. I can't remember who it is. It was one of the mods. I just can't remember who it is off the top of my head. We have so many mod friends in Perp streams now that I feel bad. I'm really good at remembering the people that have... I'm really good at remembering people who interact with me constantly. And I'm also really good at remembering the people that have really... like... people that have names that are not actually their name. I'm really good at remembering those people. Like, I can always remember Wrath of Wood because he's the only person that's named Wrath of Wood. I can remember Bow Falcon because it's Bow Falcon, Like, I can remember Cinder Shadow because it's Cinder Shadow, but it's like, you run into, like, 3 Nathans, and you run into, like, 5 Michaels, and then you run into, like, a Sean, and then, like, you have all these people that keep their normal names. Now, there are a few people that I'm really good at remembering by name. Like, Clayton, for sure, I always remember. Clayton is, like... Clayton, that dude cracks me up. I freaking love that man. I was laughing about a bunch of stuff that me and Clayton were talking about the other day. That dude cracks me up so much. And I absolutely love giving him a bad time. Clayton is my favorite person to mess with ever. I love him. I love him for it because he always gives me wonderful opportunities to just totally screw with him, and it's my absolute favorite. So like Clayton is like one of the few people that I can always remember by name perfectly. But even so, I even have a nickname for Clayton that I also adore, and I call him it all the time. But my point is that like it's really hard for me to remember the names of people who don't interact with me very often. And I also feel bad to say that I also don't I'm not very good at remembering the names of people who have like normal names because there's lots of people that come in and out with normal names. Um, but I was talking with somebody today in Perp's stream, and I feel bad that I can't remember who it is. Because I'm pretty sure it was a wrench I was talking to, and I should probably know all the wrenches, but I don't, sadly. In fact, it was actually funny. The other day I saw a wrench that I didn't recognize at all. I was like, who the hell are you, and when did you get a wrench? But anyways, I was talking to a wrench today, and he was talking about building a cube, and the point of the story was that he was like wondering about like what the secret is to building a cube, and both me and Mike were telling him like the secret is you just have to like build whatever, like build whatever, honestly. Like if you're building a cube, especially if you're brand new to it, like I know that there's like websites dedicated to giving you outlines on cube building, and there's like they have like bits of advice and all these rules and like restrictions and like what to do, what not to do, blah 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 blah. But in my opinion, the best, because this is how I built my cube. When I built my cube, what I did was I looked up a basic, like the most absolute baseline, like set of numbers. Like in the sense of like I looked up a basic build, which basically said 50 of each color, 50 non-colored spells, 60 multicolored spells, and like that was it, I think. And I used that as my primer, and then I threw everything else to the wind. And I just kind of built whatever I felt like. Sorry, I kind of knocked the camera around a little bit there. And I just kind of threw everything else to the wind and just went at it. And I just built, like, I'll admit, the very first rendition of my cube was a piece of shit. Like, there's no getting around it. But what happened was I went and played it with my friends. And then when I played it with my friends, that helped me figure out what I needed to do with it. Like, I was able to change a whole bunch of things, make improvements, and then basically what I would do is every single week I would have my friends come over, we would play the cube, and then I would like, I don't do this as much anymore because I feel like my cube is, like, fine-tuned. But what I would do is every single time I'd play a game with my friends of cube, I would say, okay, after these matches that we did, I would ask my friends, because I knew what my opinions were, but I would ask him, I was like, okay, what was your favorite card? What was your least favorite card? And what were the cards that felt totally useless or unplayable? And I would ask him that, and then he would give me his answers, and I would tweak the cube, like, based on what he would tell me, because, like, my best friend would give me really good advice that I would have never thought of on my own because I didn't have the experience with the cards that he did. We had two completely different play experiences. So I had my ideas of what I wanted to remove, but he had his own ideas. And that gave me the feedback and information I needed to be able to turn around and change my cube and make it better. So, like, that's, in my opinion, the major secret to cube building is you have to just throw something together. Don't be super worried about, like, how it's going to look or how it's going to perform. Don't be worried about, like, following specific rules or guidelines. Like, every website or every, person has their own opinion on how a cube should be built and how it should be designed. But what you got to do is you have to throw something together. Like, just get, like, the basic premise of what it is. Throw it together. Play it with your friends. Get feedback from your friends. Like, yes, you will always have your own feedback. Get feedback from your friends, because it's going to make it so that not only are you going to be able to know what you find fun, but you're also going to know what your friends find fun as well. And that's a big deal, because if you're the only person having fun, you're not going to actually have fun because your friends are not having fun. And if your friends are the only people having fun and you're not having fun, it's the same thing, you know? So, like, you need to be able to build an experience that everybody can enjoy. And that's what makes cubes so good, is because if you can properly fine-tune your cube so that everybody can have a good time, then you're just going to have the best cube like thing, and everybody's going to want to come over and hang out and play cube with you, because you've managed to figure out how to build basically the perfect Magic playing environment, you know? And that's the kind of stuff I love. Like, I just want everybody to have fun. Like, that's what I care about. Because usually, like, I mean, by the end of every game, like, that I've played, like, I mean, obviously there have been some games that are not as cool as others, but, like, every game of Cube that I've played, because I've built it primarily towards having the most fun as possible, we laugh about it, and we have memories of ridiculous, silly things that happen in our games, and, you know, and that's what it's all about. Like, that's what I love about it. Just having a good time. So you guys might be wondering why I'm coloring this bottom area orange instead of going straight to the black. I'll just kind of like talk about that a little bit. The reason why is because I have this idea that I'm going to have like the orange stuff that's like the orange stuff that's up here in these like edges and corners. I kind of want it to be like a cloudy kind of fire look, and I want it to make it look like so that it's spreading from the bottom as well. And I kind of want to intervene into the text box a little bit, just to kind of give it a cool effect, to make it look like it's invading the space of the actual text box. So that's why I'm starting off with basically an orange primer right here on these sides, just to give me that proper coloration so that I can meld it into the actual text box. Cinder Shadow says he's doing an evening stream. That sounds good. Making arrangements for the afternoon to go into the evening. Okay. Stan plays laughing because I said talking to a wrench. Yeah, I mean, it feels like that sometimes. Like I said, it's officially gotten to a point of where, like, there's so many, in perp streams specifically, there's so many wrenches that I don't interact with on a regular basis. So, I mean, I can recognize that they have, like, the equal amount of authority as I do in perp streams, and also they probably have the, like, you know, an equal amount of interaction and friendliness with perp as, you know, with Mike as well as I do, which I can recognize that, you know, because that's how Mike picks his wrenches, you know, which is fine. But I personally just don't interact with them enough to recognize them all by name. And I mean, you know, that's just how it is. It's fine. Like, I mean, I'm never going to talk down to them. They're all good people. Like, like I said, like, Mike picks good people to be his moderators. Like, they're all good people. But I just don't interact with all of them all the time. And another part of it, too, is also that not only does he, like, interact with them regularly and he knows them pretty well and he trusts them well enough to have a wrench, it's also part of it that, like, let's face it, like, I mean, when I'm at work, like, on my work days, you guys know, like, on my work days, I don't get to be there in the morning streams, and I don't get to be there in the night streams either, because it just so happens that when Mike Hatcher does his streams, I'm at work. Like, I can't be there. So it would make sense that he would want more moderators, you know, like, and I mean, I can't always be there. Obviously, Cinder Shadow can't always be there. Wrath of Wood can't always be there. Bo Falcon can't always be there. Hell, Clayton's pretty consistent, but even Clayton can't always be there. So the thing is that you have to have more people that you can trust, that you know that it's like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah isn't here. Like, Bo Falcon isn't here, so it's good that, you know, Habanero is here. Or, you know, Bo Falcon and Habanero and Cinder aren't here, but it is good that Wrath of Wood is here. And so there's always somebody who can be there to, you know, do filter duty, kick out the kids, you know, Adult Swim only, guys. But I think you guys know what I mean. But the point is that, like, in order to be consistent with that, I can't possibly know everybody, you know? And I try my best to do that, but it's impossible for me. But I mean, there are a lot of people. Like, for example, a person who I've been seeing a lot more lately, who has been on the channel for quite some time, but there was a period of time where he just left for a long time, and then he's come back, and it's been really cool because now that he's come back, I've been able to interact with him a lot more. Is Pappy. Pappy has been coming on much, much more frequently lately, which is really cool. Because he's a super nice guy, and like, I used to, chat with him all the time, back when he was, back when he was more consistent, which was like months ago or something, but he's disappeared for a while, and now he's suddenly back again, and that's really cool. So I am glad to see people like that, like, oh, like, I used to interact with this guy all the time, and now he's coming back, which means I get to know him better, and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And, like, and the thing is, too, is that, like, a lot of the more that, these wrenches that I don't know very well come on and hang out more, I get to know them better, which is totally fine. But a lot of them sometimes will just pop in like one day, and then they won't be there like 2 or 3 days, and then they'll pop in on another day, and so it's a little harder for me to get to know them. So that's just the way that it rolls. And I'm okay with that. I like having all the people that we hang out with in Mike's streams. They're great people. Except for obviously the ones that, I mean, obviously they're not wrenches, but we get new people that just want to create a, stupid environment and be obnoxious, but that's okay, because that's why we kick them out. My orange is getting kind of thin, so I'm probably going to have to set up a new orange. Wrathwood says, it's just a pile of cards that you like. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sometimes there are cards that are like, I mean, there are cards that I like, but there are some that I have in my cube that are not specifically ones that I really, really like, but they serve like a really important purpose. Like, for example, one that I can think of is, I think it's called Priest of Thune, I think. I think that's what it's called. And it's basically like a white creature that enters the battlefield and destroys enchantments. Now, see, like it ETBs and then blows up an enchantment. Excuse me. I'm not exactly the biggest like fan of that card, but like it's not this like, oh, I love, like, it's in the cube because it's amazing. But the thing is that it serves a super important purpose in the cube, and like when you need it, you really need it, And that's why I'm pretty sure it's called like War Priest of Thune or Priest of Thune or something like that. But it serves as removal. So like, yeah, I'm not the hugest fan of it, but when you need it and you get it, you're very, very grateful, and that's why it's in there, So, I mean, there are some cards where it's like that, because honestly, if I only played in my cube the cards that I really liked, there would probably be, like, no balance to it. Like, there would probably be not as much removal as the cube really needs, and there would probably be, like, there wouldn't be enough support, like little guys, that, like, do the job of setting things up for the bigger guys. So, it was actually really funny because I was doing a weird mental exercise this last week. I do a lot of walking, especially back and forth to work, and I'm going to bring my palette up and kind of mix some paint here. I was going back and forth to work a bunch, and I was kind of like bored in my journey of like going back and forth. And so, wait a minute, is this alive? Hold on, let me check this. No, that's a dry paint. But I was doing this really interesting mental exercise where I was trying to remind myself of all of my favorite cards in my cube, specifically based on like memories of using them and feeling good about them. Like, in other words, like, not necessarily the best cards in the cube, but the cards that I have, like, the most distinct memories of being incredibly useful in the cube, and also feeling good in the process of using those cards. And it was a really interesting exercise because what I did was I first started with creature spells, and then I did non-creature spells, and then I did categories of non-creature spells. So, like, the first thing I did was try and figure out, like, all of my favorite creatures that... I should probably leave that right there so I can get the right amount that I need. I was trying to remember, like, all the creatures that I always feel good about whenever I've cast them, like, every time. So, like, a creature that would always feel, in each color and stuff like that, they would always feel the most satisfying whenever I would cast it. And I was really surprised because, like, when I had thought about it, like, I was actually surprised with some of my answers, like, to myself, because I had not concentrated and thought about it that well. Because, like, there was even a couple of times where I would, like, first I would pick a card that I knew was, like, the best card for that color. But then I had to, like, go back in my memory and then think of every time I've had the chance to, like, use that card in a game. And then I would be like, that's not the right answer because I haven't used that card as much as I've used, say, a different card. So, like, an example that I can think of that really surprised me was I was trying to figure out my most utilized creature in the cube for blue, right? And so my first answer, like right off the bat, the first answer that came to my head was Vendilion Click. I have a copy of Vendilion Click in my cube, and that was like my natural first answer to that, concept. But then I had to think really deeply about it, and then I thought to myself that I've barely used Vendilion Click at all in the cube. I think I've maybe gotten it out once in all the matches I played of cube. So then I was like, okay, so then that means that Vendilion Click is not actually the right answer. It's not the most utilized creature in blue. It's just the one that I can clearly understand is the most powerful based on my knowledge of cards. So I had to, like, think really carefully about it. And I was actually surprised after thinking about, like, regaling all of the matches I've had with my cube, specifically when utilizing blue, both on my side as well as my memories of my friends playing them against me. And I was really surprised that my answer for the most utilized creature in blue for my cube is Sage of Epiteer. Have you guys ever seen that card? Sage of Epiteer is a 1 blue mana, 1/1 wizard creature that basically lets you look at the top 4 cards of your library and then put them back in the same order. That is from my memory of, like, every game I've played in blue and every game that my friend has played in blue where we've had that card, it has been the absolute most utilized creature in all of blue. And then on top of that, it's also the creature that you feel amazing whenever you play it. Because the thing is that because it's 1 blue, it's a 1 blue 1/1. Nobody's going to counter it. Nobody's going to kill it. Who is going to waste, like, a Doomblade on a 1 mana 1/1 dink? You know what I mean? Nobody's going to do that. But here's the thing. Every time it comes into the battlefield, you feel amazing. You get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You get to know what's going to happen for the next 4 turns, and you get to plan around that. It feels amazing every time you do it. And so that ended up being the most utilized blue creature card in the entire cube, and that's what I settled on. And I had to kind of, like, plan that every single time. And my whole point of bringing that up is that you'll find, like I said, like, a cube is not just your favorite cards. It's because, I mean it can be, but the thing is that in my opinion, if you actually build a cube with the idea of, like, I'm just going to use all my favorite cards, you're going to have you're going to have a major lack of balance, and it's going to be not fun for either you or somebody else you're playing with. So you kind of just have, like Sage of Epiteer is something that builds you into something else when you're playing. But the thing is that the process of building yourself into something else, like a few turns later or so on, is an amazing feeling, because when you cast a Sage of Epiteer, it gives you so much power for so little mana and like nobody can do anything about it, which is like what makes it so great. And there were a lot of answers that I had like that when I was thinking about it, because I ended up realizing that a lot of the cards that are not necessarily immediately my favorite cards ended up becoming my favorite cards because of how well they are utilized despite your initial understanding of what they are or what they represent. And that was a really fun exercise because it also allowed me to fine-tune like my understanding of how I even play the game or how I play the cube. Like, I mean, obviously I haven't been able to, since I came up with that list, like, and I figured it out, like, I actually, I mean, I was so bored because I basically spend an hour walking, like, every day. So I just basically would get lost in my thoughts, like, thinking about, like, magic cards and thinking about, like, what cards are best utilized and things like that. And it was just a fun mental exercise that also kind of fine-tunes your ability to play the game. Alright, I got a new orange here, so I'm going to put the palette away and I'm going to start working with it. But yeah, it's the same thing, is because if you build a cube and you start like doing that kind of stuff, it's going to help you understand like the best way to be playing the game and the best way to be building it for the people you're playing with. But yeah, I kind of lost track of what I was saying with that too, other than, you know, talking about magic cards and stuff like that and thinking about strategy. But it's all about that, like in my opinion, building a cube, like, it is really good to like play with your favorite cards, but it's also really good that even after you play with your favorite cards, you also need to keep in mind that everything has to be balanced, and that kind of keeps you in check with everything, and it makes it so that it's a pleasant environment for everybody to play in, not just, you know, the biggest, beefiest, baddest stuff that you can throw into a pile, you know. But I mean, I do like that, because originally, like I said, when I first built the cube, that was definitely one of the things I did, was I just kind of picked all my favorites and then kind of tuned it as I went along, realizing that, like I told you, I used to play with like triple cost cards, like, you know, triple green, triple blue, triple black, whatever. Those don't fly. They don't fly. You put a whole bunch of triple costed cards in your cube, and you're going to find that most of them will never get played, which really sucks. But, because there's some cool ones. And it sucks that you don't really get to play with them because they're just way too restrictive. People just don't get the chance. It was actually funny because, like, I'm painting a Mahamoti Djinn. Mahamoti Djinn actually used to be in the cube, and I had to take it out because it was just, there were things that were just better than it. I had Mahamoti Djinn, and I also had, like, the Dominaria card Zahid, Djinn of the Lamp, and that was also in the cube, and I had to, like, take both of them out because they're just, like, and Zahid is actually better than it's basically a better, like, it's a strictly better Mahamoti Djinn. But even so, it was just not quite up to snuff, you know? And I ended up replacing it with other things that were so much better in blue anyways. But that doesn't change the fact that I still like this card a lot. My main thing about this particular card, I love the art on this card. It's so cool. It's probably my favorite art for Mahamoti Djinn. And I mean, there's lots of people who actually are not a big fan of it simply because they're like, oh, well, it looks like a red card and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you know, I get that, but every once in a while it's kind of fun to have cards that are, like, in their artwork, they're off color from what they actually are. I just always liked how, you know, you kind of really get a chance to look at him, and he just looks like the artwork for this Mahamoti Djinn, he looks as scary as what he used to be back in the old days. Like, you know, you would get out Mahamoti Djinn, and he would just destroy everything. He was like your blue finisher. He's like the big bad boy that you would bring out, and he would just annihilate everything. And that was such a cool feeling back in the day. Wrath of Wood says, I'm hooked on perp. Once in a while I use the wrench. Yeah, I definitely, I feel like I probably use my wrench a lot more. And I mean, not to a point of where I'm abusing it. My main thing is I like, it may sound weird, but I like filter duty. If you, I mean, Wrath of Wood, you probably know what I'm talking about. Like pork meat is my favorite. I was actually making fun of him the other day for this. Pork meat is my favorite. I call him my little filter boy. Because he is, and I mean, Wrath of Wood, if you've seen this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Pork meat is always trapped in the filter, and it makes me laugh every single time. I probably pass pork meat through the filter more than any other person in Purple's streams. There is nobody in the entire stream who gets filtered as much as pork meat does. And it makes me laugh so much because there's so many times where there's no reason, like there's no reason at all for pork meat to be passed through the filter. It makes no sense sometimes, and it makes me laugh. And I just like have this like inside joke, like, I mean, I have this personal joke to myself that I think YouTube just hates pork meat. I think YouTube just hates him. Like, I think that's what it is, because he like, his comments are always filtered. Every single goddamn one of them is always filtered, and it's so funny to me. So I love referring to pork meat as my little filter boy. It just makes me laugh so much, but I love him so much. Pork meat says the funniest shit. I love him. I think he's probably up there as one of my favorite gray names in Perps chats. He's so freaking hilarious. He says the funniest shit all the time, and like, he also knows like when to speak truth too. So he's a great dude. He's one of my favorites. I love that guy. Frickin' pork meat, man. And that also makes me also think to myself, you know, another guy that I haven't seen in a long time is, I haven't seen Pork Bun in a long time. Pork Bun is a little different. He doesn't get passed through the filter as much as pork meat does. And like, me personally, I think pork meat is funnier than Pork Bun, but Pork Bun is still a pretty funny dude, and I like him quite a bit as well. But Pork Bun is just he's my favorite gray name. He's the best. He's so funny to me. And like I said, it's so hilarious how unforgiving YouTube is against pork meat. It's just so damn funny. But the thing is, too, that also makes it even funnier is because so gray names don't realize that their comments are not, you know, making it through. So it's so funny because pork meat doesn't even realize what's happening most of the time. He doesn't even realize that all of his messages are constantly being filtered. And it's so funny to me. And like, because one time, I think it was like a few days ago or something like that, pork meat said something, and I misclicked the filter, and I accidentally pressed decline. And so his message didn't make it through. He didn't even notice. He didn't even care. I even apologized to him like 2 or 3 times, and he didn't even notice. It was so funny. And his response to it was also great, because he was just like, oh, I just assume that nobody cares about a damn thing I say, so I don't even care if you accidentally declined it. He's just like, nobody cares what I have to say anyway, so don't worry about it. He's such a funny guy. Pork meat. Oh, man. But, yeah, I love hanging out in Perps chats, and there's so many great people that come in and hang out with him. And, I definitely like running filter duty. I don't know, there's like, there's something kind of relaxing about it. Like, it's like one of those things where you feel like that, like, you know, you're, like, you know, the idea of like when you're washing dishes, and it's like relaxing to like wash dishes and stuff like that. Like, doing filter duty as a mod on like Perps chat, it feels like that's the kind of feeling I get when I do it. It's just like relaxing and like just natural. And it's like the main thing I like about being filter duty too is like it's very common that I don't want to chat, like, because I mean I frequently um, just don't have anything that I want to say sometimes, you know? I'll just be silent, I'll be lurking. But, like, being on filter duty in Perps Chats gives me something to do when I don't want to talk with people, you know? So, and I kind of like that feeling that I get out of that. So, like I said, like, I like being a mod in Perps Chats. I like doing filter duty. It's always fun to throw somebody in timeout every once in a while, but whether it happens or not is not a big deal to me. You know, it's fine. I don't care. Um, but, you know, I will crack down on people when they're being naughty. So, I mean, you guys know that pretty well about me already. Um, but, you know, I just like the feeling of, like I said, like the filter duty thing is something that's kind of relaxing to me. And I do it because, you know, because I know that, like, I can just not do it and somebody else will handle it. But a lot of the time I just do it because it's relaxing and it's something that, you know, that I think is a good thing to do when I don't, like, you know, I'll do it whether I'm chatting with people or not. But, like, I especially like the feeling of, like, having that as something I can do when I don't necessarily want to be talking with people. And like I said, it's like when I don't like talk with people, when I'm like lurking, um, it's not because I dislike the chat room or it's not because I don't want to participate in the stream. It's just because I don't. It's legitimately because I don't have anything to say. And I'd much rather, like, when I'm in the chat rooms and stuff like that lurking, I'm reading what everybody's saying, you know? Like, I do legitimately find intrigue in, like, reading people's opinions and, like, seeing what people have to say and being a part of the conversation. But I just don't necessarily feel like I need to participate myself. Um, Let me catch up. Oh, it looks like Dragon's Lair Gaming is here. Hey, Dragon's Lair, good to see you, dude. Let me catch up a little bit. Wrath of Wood says, I looked online at popular cards that people use in their cubes too. Yeah, so, if you're curious, Wrath of Wood, for building cubes, 9 times out of 10, if something is really popular in like Elder Dragon Highlander or Commander, it's going to be popular in cube. Um, like, so things that work really well in Commander usually work really well in Cube. The only thing that I would say that makes that different is the way that Perp does his Cube is very different because it's like playing with a large stack of cards. So that makes a big difference, and it doesn't really play on the same terms as a Commander deck would. So that is different. But when I do my cube, it's a lot. It's like one time my best friend, he one time told me that he felt like that cube, like when he plays cube with me, he said it's like playing Commander without a commander, and also he basically says it's like playing a 60 card commander deck with no commander, basically. And I thought that was a pretty good evaluation of how my cube functions. But with that idea in mind, you can also understand how, because of that type of affiliation, Commander cards that work really well in Commander, usually work really well in the cube. Now, there are a few, like, you know, like, for example, like, I feel like Commander is a little more comfortable with running, like, mana color intensity cards, which my cube is not. So that's something that's definitely a bit different. But other than that, like, a lot of the support cards in Commander, like a lot of like things that you would think are natural includes for a Commander deck, are natural includes for running a cube usually. Oh, it's too dark, but that's all right. I'll just kind of like fade it out a little bit. It's kind of like I'm kind of trying to keep this orange alive on the bottom here, but also using a bit of black to kind of fade it out and make it kind of look a little bit more like drab a bit, you know, kind of shade it so it's a little darker in the background. YouTube just doesn't like his name. That's so funny. You're talking about Pork Meat. That's so good. Yeah, Pork Meat's great. I love that guy. Pork Meat is jokes. I'm surprised what gets held back. Dude, every comment. Dude, Like, the only comments that don't get held back by Pork Meat are like 3-word sentences that are usually confirmations of something. Like everything else, like he writes any other kind of comment that's like more than 3 words, his stuff gets run through the filter like crazy. And like I said, it cracks me up because a lot of the time, like, there's no reason for it. Like, it's so funny because it's like it's just there's a lot of times there's just no reason. Um, I think I've seen white decks get held. What do you mean by white decks get held? Um, are you talking about like there's a person named White Dex and his commentary gets held? Is that what you mean? Because I don't think I know a guy named White Dex. I haven't seen that. Is he like a new dude or something? Because like the reason why it's so funny to me about Pork Meat is because Pork Meat's been around for so long. He's been in like pretty much all of the streams. Like I can't really think of many streams where Pork Meat is not around. And he's been around for a very, very long time. So it just cracks me up that like everything he says gets held through the filter. Um, then there is me. I admit I'm not as high of a caliber as you guys. Oh, it's okay, Dragon's Lair Gaming. I like you, dude. It's all good. You gotta, like, the thing is, Dragon's Lair, the longer you hang out with us, the more we, like, I was actually talking about this earlier with, like, I was saying this about mods earlier, is there's a bunch of mods that, like, come in and out of, like, the chat rooms, and I've never, like, I don't know them. Like, you know, like, it actually surprises me that I don't know them. And, like, some of them I can't remember after any single stream or anything like that. And it's not that they're not good people. It's just I haven't interacted with them enough to get to know them. And, I mean, all you have to do is just hang out with us. Like, you know, chat with us, have a good time, say funny things, you know, be a part of the conversation, come to the streams regularly, interact with the chat room, say hi to people. You know, that's all you have to do. And, like, you know, in no time, we'll remember your name and we'll, you know, talk with you all the time. And it happens. Like, people like that all the time. Like I said, I was even, like, speaking of Pork Meat, like, you know, like, when he first started showing up, like, nobody knew him, and, you know, there weren't a ton of people, like, interacting with him because they didn't know him, but he went out of his way to, like, talk with everybody and interact and become a regular part of the crowd, and now we're talking about all sorts of funny shit that he does on a regular basis, you know? It's just, that's what it is. You just kind of have to hang out for a long enough period of time that people, like, just know you, you know, and recognize your name and they say hi to you and things like that. Like, it happens. You just gotta, you know, just gotta show up and hang out. That's how it works. Cinder Shadow says, Habbo high on filter powers. You know it, brother. That's what I do. That's apparently what I'm good for around here. Alright, so I'm gonna try something here. So I'm gonna kind of, like, interrupt this, border a little bit. I'm not totally sure how I'm going to run with it yet. I'm a little worried about it because the blue border on the bottom kind of bleeds through. I probably should have hit it with a primer, but I know that if I just kind of, like, hit it with a couple of, like, if I hit it a few times with the paint, it'll probably, like, layer on thick enough so that it'll, like, not bleed through. Cinder Shadow says King Cube is amazing. I've actually never played King Cube. Like, I've never played the kind of cube that Perp does. There have been a couple of times where I've thought about, like, setting up my cubes so that it would play like a King Cube style. But I have not actually tried it yet, so I'm not really sure, like, what kind of, you know, like, how it would interact or how it would function. And it might be kind of interesting because I would have to, like, there are some cards that would probably not work very well because, like, lands are actually kind of a thing in my cube. Like, and when you play King Cube, like, lands don't exist. Like, you can't play with lands. So, someone said White Dex in Perp's chat and it was held for review. Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Like, I get it. Like, I mean, you know, let's face it. Like, we make jokes all the time saying, like, I bet my deck is bigger than your deck. Hmm? Right? Yeah, maybe. So, I mean, I can see, like, why that would happen. But I mean, it's whatever. I mean, there's a lot of weird things that happen with the algorithm that don't quite make sense. And I don't try to question it too much. It's just, it's just YouTube being YouTube. And you also have to keep in mind that, like, the YouTube filter, like, it's like, I mean, not the YouTube filter, but just YouTube in general right now is really wacky because a lot of everything is automated right now because of the kimono stuff going on. So, I mean, I can definitely understand why some things that would otherwise be normally okay might be a little not, you know, normal right now. Like they're not the same as what they were before simply because so many things are automated at the moment. So I get that, I get that. But I don't think it's too much of a big deal because I think that things will go back to normal eventually, and things will be less strict and things will be a little less automated, and maybe the filters will be a little less harsh. Who knows? I'm not really sure yet, so we'll definitely have to see what happens as time goes on. Um, I decided to add in this black because I think the black is helping prevent the bleeding border. So I'm just kind of like adding that in, kind of trying to make it blend a little bit better with the orange and black at the bottom here. And then I'll probably lay like another layer of orange on the top so that it just blends better in with the text box. Kind of just trying to get this black to work a little nicer with these colorations. Another thing I'm noticing is I think I might be able to finish this before the stream is over. Not sure. What time am I at? Looks like I got about like half an hour left. That's not too bad. It's pretty good. I think I might be able to finish this, which is kind of rare. I don't really get to finish my paintings within one stream. A lot of times because I get distracted by all sorts of things and the colors are really complicated. But this is a pretty simplistic piece of art simply because it's only just a couple of colors. So it's very easy to set up and blend and things like that. So I'm just kind of like, trying to get it to blend right. And I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm just rambling. Can't you tell? Can't you tell that I'm rambling? Maybe just a little bit. Kind of like trying to add these little misty finagles around the box here because it looks cool. Like my little misty finagling that I got going on over here. Little tendrils, little finagles. It's kind of whipping up along the sides. And then I will cover them in orange so they look like, licking flames. Little flame licks. That's right. That's right. There we go. Yeah. That looks kind of nice. It'll look a little bit... It's a little rough, but it'll look better in just a little bit. I just got to add in the orange to kind of smooth it out. But I do kind of like the effect with the black going on over here. Kind of trying to lighten it up just a little bit. There we go. What sort of paint are you using to do this, and what are you using to apply it? So I am using an acrylic paints. That's primarily what I use. I don't really use very much other than acrylics. I want to do oils eventually, but I don't think I'll use oils on cards. I was also thinking about picking up some new art supplies to try out pretty soon. I just haven't done that quite yet. But that is something that I am actually interested in. Somebody a while ago was talking to me about Posco pens. I think that's what they were called. And they look pretty cool, so I was actually looking into probably buying a set of those pretty soon, just to kind of play around with and see how they work on Magic cards. I got the impression that they're probably pretty good on Magic cards, but I don't actually know yet, so I am worried I'm running out of my orange now. Let's see here. I'm going to try to kind of wet the orange a little bit, see if that helps with applying more of it. Yeah, it looks like that helped a little bit. Let's see. Let's see how it looks. There we go. Ooh, I like that. It's very nice. Very smooth. Yeah, there we go. I'm probably going to have to add more black, though, just to really make sure that that blends right. Oh, that's a little too wet there. A little bit too wet there. That's okay. I'll let this dry a little bit, and then I'll add in some more black, and it'll probably blend it better. First, I'm going to add some of that there. Okay, that's fine. It's fine. But yeah, it's primarily acrylics. I'm using basically what's called psycho brushes. This one I'm using is not, like, it's got a good, like, a decent tip to it. It's very ragged because I've used it so much, but I have, like, a real psycho brush. Like, check this guy out. This guy is, like, practically a pinpoint. It's so ridiculous. Basically super, super thin brushes. Artist acrylics, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I'll admit they're not the best acrylics. Like, they're kind of cheapo acrylics. Like, they're just like these System 3 acrylics, which are all right. I mean, they're like kind of lower quality acrylics. But then again, like, you know, I have these like lower quality acrylics, but then I have like, for example, this super high quality acrylic. This is like the super expensive high quality acrylic paint, which I have a bunch of, but I barely ever use it. I only use it for special things. That one I just now showed you, I actually use a lot more frequently than others. But I still use it fairly rarely. Like, I don't use it that often. Something that's bothering me, I'm going to kind of shave this down just a little bit. Just a little bit. Because that's kind of annoying me. Just a smidge. It's just annoying me a little bit. There we go. I can kind of get some finer points on there as well, which is very nice. Okay, and now I'm going to hit it with another wave of black. And make sure it's toned down relatively well. There. Yeah. I just kind of like the idea that it's kind of like this sort of flamey look. It's kind of like popping up over the border, and that's what I was really trying to do with this. Is just kind of have it like a smoke almost, you know? Like, you guys know what I'm talking about. Artist acrylics, lands with abilities work in King Cube. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, but the thing is I also have like piles of like basic lands too. So not actually in the cube, but they're off to the side for when you're building your cube deck. Oh, excuse me. If I may be as bold to make a suggestion, there is something coming. Grab your popcorn. It'll be fine, Cinder. I'm not too worried. It's fine. It'll be fine. Everything's okay. The world is not gonna explode. We're all gonna be okay. But anyways, yeah, if you want to like suggest something, it's fine, dude. Whether I take your advice is a different story, though. But you can suggest whatever you want, homie. It's all good. But yeah, I just kind of like use basic acrylics and kind of like do various different fading techniques. Relatively simplistic stuff, not too complicated. I mean, I could. I don't know. I think it's alright because what I'm trying to do now is I'm also trying to... you'll notice down here, if you look a little closer, that the orange on the bottom here kind of has like a light tone to it. Like as if like there's light bouncing off of the smoke from the higher up part of the yellow. So that basically gives the view of the light bouncing off of it and reflecting back. So that's basically what I'm trying to do with these oranges and blacks. Is I'm trying to have a brighter orange down here to refract light, with the black in the lighter color in the background to reflect light, and the black in the foreground to show the shade from the other side. So I don't think I'll need blue to really do that. I'm kind of just sticking with the blacks and the oranges, which seem to be working pretty decently. All I have to do is just kind of like lightly go over this with orange right here, just like that. Yeah. Let's see. I'm now officially using the camera as my my next set of eyes. A pair of extra eyes so that I can see what the hell I'm doing. There we go. And I also will have to shave it down just a little bit so that it doesn't get too wonky with the text box. There we go. Probably a little bit more orange from what I can see. Will probably be necessary. Dragon's Lair says it's looking great. I do like it. Well, I'm glad you like it, man. I do really enjoy this. Like, I was really feeling like because I was thinking about playing a game today, and I was just not feeling it. I mean, like, I'm still like, I mean, I probably will be doing some gaming streams again this week. Maybe I'm not. I'm pretty sure I will. Like, I just don't want to make any promises I can't keep, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do it. But I was just really feeling like getting some painting done today. It's been some time since I last painted, and I was feeling that painting itch, you know? Because I don't know. I just haven't done it as much as I want to. And but the thing is, for me, is when it comes to everything I do on my channel, I do my channel based on how I feel, you know? Like, my content is based on how I feel all the time. And because, like, the thing is that I don't want to get burnt out on making content and things like that. And for me, the way that works the best is that I'm less likely to get burnt out if I'm doing the things that feel right to me at the time that I'm doing them. You know, so, and that's just to keep myself happy so that I can continue to make content to make you guys happy. So, I was just feeling like doing some painting today, so this is why I'm choosing this in particular for this particular day. I was just like, let's do some painting. So here I am doing some painting. Because that's how I like it. Let's see, I'll probably put a little bit more orange on this side as well. My orange is so dry, I have to be extra careful with how I'm using it. And put some more over here, just like that. So Helfer Gamers says, back, wife needed me to size and cut some backer boards for some old picture frames. Okay, that sounds cool. Oh, size, yeah, okay. Dragon's Lair says, I work with color every day at work, so I get a little bit of a big head when it comes to some of that sort of stuff. I blame my autism. Dude, don't worry about it. It's fine, Dragon's Lair. Don't worry. Don't, you know, don't throw yourself under a bus that doesn't exist. You know? It's all good, man. It's okay to make suggestions. It's fine. I mean, it doesn't hurt my feelings or anything like that. It's just good to know that there are people who, you know, other people who are interested in my channel who are also artistically inclined and all that. So I really appreciate it. It's all good. And I'm always good for hearing some, like, advice, like, just in case, because, like, I do actually, like, you know, I'm very good at hearing what people have to say about all sorts of different things, and then, you know, utilizing it if I think it's useful. Like, you know, it's not going to happen every single time, but there are plenty of times where, like, for example, like, one of my best friends, I was talking with him about this a while ago, because we had a conversation where he was really worried that he had offended me because he was, you know, a little defensive about the particular topic. So he ended up, like, responding to me, and he was apologizing, and I was like, no, like, dude, there's no reason to apologize, because, like, I'm glad that you know, were explaining it to me in the form of passion that you had about it, because that gave me a chance to really reflect on it and kind of see it from your point of view, and then utilize it for my own knowledge. So I was like, don't feel bad about that. Like, you didn't hurt my feelings, you know, like, you're not going to offend me. Like, my best friend is a really good dude. And he cares about, you know, the people that he's friends with and stuff like that. And, you know, so he sometimes gets defensive over things, which is fine. But he's never said anything that's, I mean, there are definitely like, I can actually think of a couple deep cuts that he gave on me with some things that he said, but nothing that I wasn't able to, you know, get over. You know what I mean? So, I'm pretty good or at least I think I'm pretty good at, not being offended by people. Because a lot of the time, a lot of the time when people are like offensive, there's like a good reason for it. And like, even if there's not a good reason for the person being offensive in the way that they are, the better question is, why are you so offended? Like, it's just words, right? So like, it's either that they have a reason for being offensive in the way that they are, or whatever their reason is doesn't matter and you shouldn't care. You know what I mean? So I just, you know, I really don't get butthurt about most things that people say. It's very, very, I'm proud to say that it's very, very hard for people to say something that gets under my skin. I'm not a very, you'll find that I'm not a very angry dude. I'm very relaxed, and I can get pretty upset sometimes, but a lot of the time the things I get upset over have nothing to do with other people. Like, it's the things that I usually get upset about are things that are like based on my environment or my own particular situations, you know? Things I get upset about are usually usually the things I get really upset about are of my own creation. Like, you know, the classic saying of, you are your own worst enemy? Usually when I get really upset, it's because I have done something that has pissed me off, you know? So I don't really care about, you know, other people, you know, saying certain things to me that might be aggravating, but I can get pretty upset over things I do to myself. So, such is life, you know? That's just how it goes. But my point is, Dragon Slayer, don't worry about it. It's all good, man. You do you, and it's all good. However, I will say this, and this goes for just about anybody. I'm not targeting you, Dragon Slayer, or anything like that, but I will say this. If you choose to say something really, really rude to me, I can't tell you what my mods will do to you. So, you know, it's if you want to be rude for the purpose of being rude, then you know, the mods will get you, and that's good enough for me. I don't really care, but my mods do. Hell for Gamers, he's a pretty tough boy. You don't want to piss him off. So Dragon Slayer Gaming says, I like your style, oh spicy one. Well, I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you like it a lot. It's awesome. I like my style too. A lot of the stuff that I do, especially when it comes to painting, is self-taught. I just kind of like, my main thing is I like to mimic other artists. Like I'll like look up an artist that I'm interested in, and I'll like take a piece that they've done that I really, really think looks amazing, and then I'll try to recreate it in my own way. Sometimes I'll make an exact copy of it. I have done that a few different times. I do have a few paintings that I've done that I absolutely adore, but I adore them because they're basically like exact copies of other artists. But one of the most interesting things that I've learned about doing art is that copying other artists is, first of all, a great compliment to the artist that you're copying. As long as you're not, you know, taking credit for what somebody else has already done, it's fine. Like, it's a major compliment to copy another artist's artwork. But another thing, too, is that it's also a great way to learn. Like, it's a fantastic way to teach yourself artwork and, you know, methods and techniques that you don't already currently understand. And a lot of the time, you can copy somebody's artwork. Like you can recognize that they do something that's really good, and then you recreate it. And then as you are recreating it, you can focus on the points that make that art unique to the person that you're copying. and that in the process of copying that, you're teaching yourself a new methodology towards art, which you can then utilize for other purposes, add it to your own repertoire, of skills and things like that. And I like that way of, doing art. That's primarily how I do it, is I usually like to copy other people and then learn from what I've copied. And I do have a few art pieces like that where like I said, like I have one where because I follow a few artists on DeviantArt that do magic card artwork. And there have been a few times where I would copy, there's one artist in particular that I really enjoy, and I've copied a couple of her art pieces, and there's one that I copied like almost exactly to a T with only maybe a couple small differences. But I love that piece. Like, I worked really hard on it by copying them, and I adore it. And on top of that, it also taught me some things that I didn't already know how to do. Like that one the one that I'm thinking of taught me some shading techniques that I'd never used before until I had copied that person. And it also taught me, like, changes in light, because the artist had one of the things that made me really attracted to this one particular artist's artwork is they had a distinctive eye for changes in light. And that was a big deal to me. I really liked how they observed light and how they utilized it in their own way. So that's why, I copy people like that, is because they usually have a technique or an understanding in their, like, in how they do their artwork that I want to learn and observe and practice with, And I've definitely seen a few different artists who actually encourage that kind of stuff, where they're just basically like, how are you ever going to learn how to make good art if you aren't willing to learn the techniques that other good artists already know, and using them as reference points is great as well. I'm going to kind of shave this down just a little bit. I just don't like how close it is to the words here, so I'm kind of shaving it down just a little bit, and just kind of cleaning this up just a tiny bit. We're almost done here. I've got about 4 minutes left, so I got to wrap this up. But I do have this pretty much all done. I'm pretty satisfied with how this came out. And I like the fact that it took me the full 2 hours to make. That makes me very happy. I didn't actually expect it to be that quick, because normally, if you guys have spent time with me doing other paintings, usually it takes me a couple of streams to get a painting done. Like 2 or 3 of them, This one was just not a very complex piece, but even despite that, I really wanted to work on it, so that's why I kind of did it, was I picked it out and I was like, even though it's not complex, and there's not a whole bunch of stuff to it, it's still something that I really wanted to do because I wanted to enjoy it for what it is, and I wanted to share it with you guys, because, that's what I do. I like to do my artwork, and I like to share it with people, and that's why we're doing this just this way. There's also something I wanted to talk about. I don't think I'll have... Yeah, I have like 3 minutes left, so I'm probably not going to be able to talk about it. But something that I was talking with Cinder Shadow about a while ago that he brought up that I thought was really interesting was... I was mentioning, because we were looking at the... it was when Cinder Shadow was talking about the Ikoria spoilers. And he was mentioning... we were talking about the extended artwork, where they basically take the artwork and they stretch it out past the box, but they don't extend it up or down, they just stretch it. And I was mentioning to Cinder Shadow, I was like, dude, I hate that they do that. I hate it. I think it is the worst, thing that they do with their artwork on Magic cards. Which is they take the art box and they stretch it past the borders, but the rest of the card is normal. So it's only this portion and this portion that is stretched artwork. And I just think it's so ugly and I can't stand it. And they started doing that in Ultimate Masters. That's when they first did it. And it was so ugly and I hate it. I absolutely hate that they do that. And it's and it bothers me because they'll give you the regular card, and then they have also extended art, like they do cards kind of like this a little bit, where they extend the art. But then they have the stretched ones too. And it's like, just do the extended art. Like, just do it. Like, don't stretch the artwork from the box. Just do the full extension. Just do it. Like, I hate it. I hate that they do that. I think it's so ugly, and it's just like when I have my Magic cards, okay, I either want the whole Magic card, like I want the whole Magic card like this, either I want it exactly like this, and if I want something more artistic, then I want it like this, okay? Like, I don't want a stretched art box. It's just, it looks so ugly. Because it's like, because one of the things that makes this look attractive is because the attractiveness of this basic style is that, yeah, you have your little art box, which is like a window, right? But, like, you have your borders, right? So, like, you have your borders, you have your text boxes, your mana costs, your power and toughness box, you have all that stuff, right? But, like, then they shatter these borders, right? To make the artwork stretch. But then the rest of the card is inconsistent. Because now you have broken borders from the top to the bottom. Like, the top borders and the bottom borders are now broken because you're stretching the artwork over these two borders on the sides. I just think it's so ugly, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And I wanted to make it a topic that I talked about in this stream, but I totally forgot until now. So I just wanted to bring that up really quick because it bugs me so much. And I hate that they keep doing it. Like, I really hate it. I think it's so ugly. And I mean, I don't know. I guess some people like it, but I really... I'm not a fan, you guys. I'm not a fan of the stretched artwork. I think it's ugly, and I don't like it. I don't. Alright, well, I'm going to catch up on chat really quick. And then I'm going to call it here because I am now officially 1 minute over my 2-hour mark. So, Dragon's Lair was saying, I was meaning more of your life viewpoint about being chill and not taking things too serious. But I do appreciate you talking about how you learned and are learning how to paint. Yeah, thank you, man. Like, thank you. I think I have a pretty good mentality on life, too. I like to say that my overall perspective on life is built on a simple rule, and that simple rule is live and let live, Like, I don't want people interfering in my life, and I don't want to interfere in other people's lives, So, like, you do you, and I'll do me, and we won't do each other, and everything is fine. So that's how it is. That's how I like it. Cinder Shadow came in when I started mentioning his name. He says, I hate it too, man. I called that shit out when they first did it. Yeah, back in Ultimate Masters, I thought it was so terrible. You seeing through the text box is cool. Yeah, I'm cool with that. Like, for example, like when they do the Eldrazi art, and you can actually see through the colorless art box, I think that's a really cool effect. I like that too. So I'm okay with that. But the thing is that when they do that, the borders still exist. It's not like stretched artwork. So, like, the only difference is that the borders are semi-transparent. And I think that's a cool effect. I'm okay with that. Cinder Shadow says allows you to cheat with the cards. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't like it. I think it just looks ugly. The art was cropped to begin with. Yeah, that's true. Wrath of Wood says, thanks for streaming Spicy, sir, because he knows that I'm wrapping up the stream. Dragon's Lair Gaming says, I'm glad I was able to catch at least part of your stream. You have a great rest of the day, sir. Well, thank you so much, Dragon's Lair Gaming. I'm really glad you got to come in and hang out, and I'm glad you had a great time. So thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to wrap up and do all my normal stuff. So if you're not already subscribed, please subscribe. I'm pretty sure most of the people here are subscribed, but sometimes people forget, and that's totally okay. But I'm reminding you right now, if you're not subscribed, please do it. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when I'm going to be doing streams like this, whether it's painting or whether it's gaming. Go ahead and hit that the thumbs up button, because it really helps me out, and I super appreciate it. I really love it when you guys hit that thumbs up button. It makes me so happy. I have a bunch of cool links in the description below. I have a PayPal. I have a DeviantArt. I have, what other shenanigans do I have? Well, anyways, the point is I have some cool stuff in the description below, just my basic links. It's all good. Let's see what else. I think that's pretty much it. So I'm just going to go ahead and say the stuff I always love saying, which is follow your dreams, guys. Follow your dreams, because the only person who can accomplish your dreams in your life is you, and you've got to follow them. I'm following my dreams. You should follow your dreams. We should all follow our dreams. So you guys have a great night. Thank you all so much for being here. Bye, guys. I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye. Bye.